Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am here to film an updated how to get out of credit card debt video. So I filmed one of these before, which I will link up here and down in the description box, and it was a pretty big hit. It has well over 100,000 views, and so that tells me that people actually are interested in knowing this kind of stuff. So my husband and I have been credit card debt free for about a year, and we paid off our $6,000 worth of credit card debt during the beginning stages of our debt-free journey, which was back in June of 2017. And so I wanted to come here because I feel like I owe it to you guys to do an updated video, because the one that I filmed before, I was literally on the floor. I had no tripod, I had no lighting. It was really just like the Hot Mess Express. So I'm just back to do an updated video for you guys, and I feel like I can communicate my words a little better. So let's just walk through this whole process, and I'm going to use the numbers that really were our numbers. I'm not going to use just fake numbers. So let's just hop right into this video. Okay, so we decided to pay off debt using the Snowball method. And basically, when you are using the Snowball method, what you are doing is paying off debt from smallest to largest. Now, there are other ways that people like to pay off debt. However, I don't really think that any of them are really smart to use when paying off credit card debt. Now, if you have other debts that you're trying to pay off, then maybe you might use the avalanche method or something like that. But as far as credit card debt, this is the one that makes the most sense. So let's list our credit card debts that we had. So we are going to list our debts from smallest to largest. The smallest, well, some of them had around the same balance, but for the most part, the smallest one was around $750, somewhere around there. Well, we had two around like $750. So we're just going to use $750 for both of them. So we had a Capital One card. And we had a Care Credit card. And we had a First Premier card. And then we had a Best Buy card, and I'm walking through this in case anybody wants to walk through it with me. And those were kind of my four, and then my husband had two, so we'll just list his down here. And they were around the same amount. The balances is so weird. So his first one was a Capital One card, and his second one was also a Capital One card. It was just like through another company that had partnered with Capital One. This one was about $750. It was like $700, $750. We're gonna put it at $750. This one was at about $800, and I know I'm kind of out of order, but not really. They're all pretty much the same. And then this one was at like $750. This one was at about $850. This one was about $1,500. This one was about $1,500. So these were our credit cards. We had 6 of them. So we'll just label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So whenever we started to attack, we chose to pay off these 4 during the first month, which was June. And then we chose to pay off these 2 during the month of July. And the reason why we did that is because these all had smaller balances and these had larger balances. And so that's pretty much how that went down. Now, as far as paying them off, because all of these kind of had around the same balance and around the same interest rate, we just chose them as they came. We paid them off as they came due. So like the Capital One card was due on like, I don't know, the 5th of the month or something. So we paid that one off, and then we just kind of paid them off as they came due throughout the month and as we got paid. That's pretty much what we decided to do. And so we kind of lumped all of those, that we pretty much considered all of these to be of the same balance. And of course, both of these were of the same balance. Same thing one of the Capital One cards were due, one of them was due rather, at like the beginning of the month, so we just paid that one off first, and then when the other one came due, we just paid it off. It just seemed to work a little better like that. Now let's talk about the minimum balances, or the minimum payments. So the minimum payment for this one, and we're going to use MP for minimum payment, was about $25. The minimum payment for this one was about $30. It was like $28. The minimum payment for the first Premier was about $50. And then the minimum payment for this one was, I was not paying that, someone else was, because I actually opened up the credit card with someone else in mind, but that's neither here nor there. And that minimum payment was like $30. Now for this one, this minimum payment was like $75. And this minimum payment was also like $75. Now, we did not take into consideration the minimum payments. We only took into consideration the balances because we are paying off debt from smallest to largest. Again, these are all kind of the same, so we just grouped them all together because, I mean, $750 to $850, I mean, it's pretty much the same. If they were, you know, a little bit differently, we may have grouped them a little differently, but for the most part, we consider those all to be around the same balance. If you do find yourself in a similar situation, but you're not paying off, let's say, credit card debt, and you have some kind of loan or something that is the same balance. Let's say you have a Capital One card with the balance at $750, and you have some kind of personal loan with the balance at $750, but the balance on the personal loan, I mean the interest rate on the personal loan is less, then you may go ahead and try to attack this one first. It makes the most sense to go ahead and get the credit card out the way if it has a higher interest rate. But for the most part, all of these credit cards, all 6 of them, had around the same interest rate. So there was no real, you know, that we didn't have to do any kind of figuring out which one we were going to pay off first or whatever. Again, we just paid them off as they came due. Now, moving on to what we decided to do. So, I told you guys that we just paid them off as they came due. I think, like I said, this one was due on like the 5th of the month and like the 11th and the 18th and like the 21st or something like that. We just decided to pay them off as they came due because actually we were getting paid like twice a week. Like I was getting paid once a week and my husband was getting paid once a week. So every week we had enough to pay off these credit cards. So that's what we decided to do. Otherwise, let's say you're not going to be able to pay for 4 credit cards, pay off 4 credit cards in 1 month, then you can just set your goal on paying off, you know, one during 1 month, the second one during the second month, the third one. You know, if you can only do maybe this in a 7-month time frame, then that's okay too. Just decide which ones you want to attack first. Again, it makes sense to go ahead and attack the smallest one. And the reason why that makes the most sense is because as you are paying off debts, you are eliminating debts. So you don't have interest rates, you don't have minimum payments, you're eliminating that. Some people try to, like I have a friend who, when I was explaining this to him, he was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because he was just trying to add an extra 100 on this one, 1 month or, during whatever time period, and then trying to add an extra 200 on that. But I'm like, you're still paying interest on all of these credit cards, so it doesn't really make sense to do it. Just put all of your time and energy into one credit card, wipe that out, wipe out the minimum payment, wipe out the interest rate, go on to the next one. It makes the most sense to do that, especially when dealing with credit cards. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the second segment of this little video. Okay, so now let's talk about the place where people get most confused. So people get most confused during the actual beginning of the paying off debt, not really like the configuring which debts they're going to pay off first, or listing their debts from smallest to largest, just like implementing it. A lot of people get confused on that part. So this is what you are going to want to do. So let's say you want to attack your lowest balance one first. And so for me, it's, the First Premier and the Capital One are pretty much the same. So we're just going to go ahead and highlight this one. And this is going to be the one that we want to attack first. Now, if you have 6 credit cards, you have to put a minimum payment on all of the credit cards unless, you know, you want bad things to happen. So you have to at least pay your minimum payment. So what you're going to do is you are going to put all of your money, time, and energy into the smallest balance credit card first. Meanwhile, you still need to put minimum payments on all of these. So during your first month, let's say you do your budget and you figure out that you're going to have $750 to pay off at least one of your credit cards. You know, for us, we knew that we could pay off all 4 of them, but let's just say you are aiming to pay off a $750 credit card and you do your budget, and at the time of your budget, you see that you're going to have an additional $750, $800, $900, enough to pay off an entire credit card. What you're going to do is you're going to put your minimum payment on your first credit card. You have to put the minimum payment on there unless you're going to pay it when it comes due, which is what we did, in which case you don't really have to pay a minimum payment because you're paying off the whole balance. But if you're not able to do that, let's say you are not able to pay off the credit card until the end of the month, but your minimum payment is due at the beginning of the month, you are going to go ahead and put that $25 minimum payment towards this credit card. Now, as the month progresses, if you are in that particular situation, you are going to have to go ahead and put the minimum payments on all of these. And let's just do the math here with the minimum payments that you will have to pay. So 25 plus 30 plus 50 plus 30 plus 75 plus 75. $285. Now, if you are not able to pay off balances as they come due, you are still going to have to put $285 of your money towards these credit cards because you have to pay those minimum balances. However, you're not putting any extra towards Care Credit. You're not putting any extra towards First Premier. You're not putting any extra towards any of the other cards. You're only focusing on one card at a time. So you don't want to be trying to put any additional towards any of the other credit cards. You want to focus all of your time, energy, and money into the first credit card. And this is where the people get the most confused, with good reason, because it does get a little bit confusing. But the fact of the matter is, do not put any additional money outside of the minimum payment on any of the other credit cards or debts that you are trying to pay off. Only the one that you have decided to focus on. So if you list your debts from smallest to largest, it's going to be easy. It's going to be clearly laid out for you. Which one is of the smallest balance and which one you need to focus on. Now, once you pay off the one with the smallest balance, you move on to the next one. So if you're really going by the book and you have similar balances like this, you would technically move on to First Premier, or, you know, it didn't really matter because they're both $750, but you get what I'm saying. You would technically move on to the next one up to bat, which in this case would, I guess, be First Premier. And then you're going to do the same thing. If you have canceled out this credit card because you paid it off and this one's up to bat, you are going to put minimum payments on this debt, this debt, this debt, this debt. All extra time, money, and energy is going towards paying off First Premier. You're still having to put the minimum payments towards these other debts. Once you knock that one out, you still are going to have to do the same thing. So you're moving on to this one. So you're still having to put minimum payments towards these other debts, and you just repeat the process until you are credit card debt free or whatever the case is, whatever you're shooting for. You just repeat the process if you're using the snowball method. And again, the beauty in this is that as you're paying off entire debts, you may not be able to do it in 1 month, but either way, you would do it the same way. If it takes you 2 months to pay off a $750 balance, or 3 months, that's fine too, but the method does not change. Either way, you're still putting minimum payments on all of the debts outside of the one that you're trying to attack or the one that you're trying to eliminate. It still works the same way whether you are paying off debt, whether you're able to do it in a week or a month or 5 months, it works the same way. So I really just wanted to come on here and explain that to you guys because, again, a lot of people really get confused on that. But again, it does not matter how long it's taking you to pay off the debt. The method is still the same because you're using the snowball method. So don't get caught up in trying to put extra on these other debts. That doesn't serve you any purpose. Eliminate the entire debt, eliminate the entire minimum payment, and eliminate the entire interest, the entire balance, and move on to the next one. And I guarantee you will see progress. Because when we started out, we were actually just going to pay one of these off, or pay off one of these every month. But yeah, I guess bigger plans were in store for us because we were able to pay off these in 1 month and then these in 2 months. So that's pretty much what we decided to do. But I just wanted to come on here really quickly, although this video is a little bit lengthy, to just reiterate this for you guys. If you have any questions, let me know. And I really just wanted to do this because it's been a year since we've been credit card debt free. And again, I just felt like I was in a better position to share this just because I just feel a little bit more knowledgeable in this area. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.